Morning. I'm so excited to be back. So I gotta plug you guys in, but I got enough followers thanks to my wonderful friends on Facebook who helped plug me to get me 200 followers so I could go live and do art with you guys again. So today I'm going to be working on a Lynx. I got this picture from a free reference group on Facebook. So it's not going to be one of my tutorials. It's just going to be one that I wanted to draw. And I'll show you the picture of what I'm working on. So I was going to do just the face, but I'm going to do the whole shebang. Not the trees in the background, but the rest of it I'm going to. So I'm just looking to see what it is you guys are seeing. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the face, obviously move my way down, but I'm going to work first in the eyes. I'm going to need some indenting tools to do the hair on the ears and the whiskers. And I don't think I'm going to need it for anywhere else. There's a lot of light shining on this guy, so it's going to make it hard for it to kind of capture that because we're up against a white background where a lot of people would be using something different. But the paper I'm using is Strathmore Bristol Vellum Smooth, and it's 300, so it's the cheaper one of them, but it's still really good quality but more affordable. And I'm using polychromos to do this. And yeah, let's get started. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the eyes. Like I mentioned, I have my coffee cup of colors here that I'm working with. I just grabbed an old coffee cup that I don't actually use. And yeah, that's what I'm going to work with. So obviously I'm going to have black because there's black around it. But before I put in the black, I'm going to use dark indigo as well as dark sepia. If you don't have any of the colors, all you have to do is go to Google the color, find one that matches it. Because I've seen people do that a lot where they're like freaking out because they don't have the color. It's like you don't have to have the color. Just Google the color and find one you do have that matches it. Okay, so what I did was I saved the picture twice. Once of the face up close, obviously because the face is going to be smaller compared to some of my just headshot pictures. There's not going to be as much detail as I would have in the eyes of one normally, but yeah. We're going to start off with dark sepia, and I just sketched this little guy out roughly, so obviously I'm not going to go directly with my sketch. This is just sort of an idea to work on, like to map them out, and then as I go is when I intend to kind of fix it. Okay, so I'm just mapping in around the eye first, and then I'm going to leave the pupil alone. Hey Robin, how are you, sweetheart? It's great to see ya. And then I'm just doing the same thing on this side. I'm just gonna map in the eye with the dark sepia, and I'm just going lightly over it because the less harder you press, then the easier. Aw, thank you. I'm so excited. Thanks for being one of the people that helped me get here. I'm doing light pressure because if you do hard pressure and just do it hard all at once and not sort of work and build the color up, then you're going to end up with being able to see the paper through it, and it looks really, really shitty. So that's my plan. Okay. So when I post the actual ending of the drawing, I'll post who the photographer was. Give props to the photographer who actually took the photo, but I honestly don't remember their exact name at the moment. So I shall get that. Okay. And then I'm going to come in next with the dark indigo. That is what this is, right? Yeah, just want to make sure. And then I'm going to mark in the pupil and sort of fill in that black area. And the only reason I'm doing this is because it kind of gives it a richness that otherwise wouldn't be there. So I'm just sort of blowing up the eyeball so I can see it. We don't have a lot to work with in terms of space, but we got quite a bit of colors that I still want to put in there, so that is going to be the intention. So I'm going to go around here and thicken up this line under the eye, because it almost looks like they're wearing some pretty good under the eye 80s eyeliner here. Lynxes have got to be one of those cats that are like, I don't know, there's something about them. They're different. They're not like the other wild cats, and they're pretty cool. I've drawn them before, once or twice. I tend to draw tigers and lions mostly. I think that's just because people tend to take the photos more, so I tend to find pictures that I like more of them. But lynxes have got to be one of my favorite, them and black panthers. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing on this side, where I'm just kind of thickening up the black area. So, I mean, if you do like a guide sketch, you don't want to follow that because it's not going to turn out the same. If you go on the link in here, there's a link to my website. You can find a bunch of free ones on there too that you can do, and it has like a little PDF that you download with it, and it gives you all the pencils I use, even like a thing that you can try to, I don't really know how you trace with tracing paper, to be honest with you. I know it sounds weird because it's been around since we were kids, but I'm not really sure how tracing paper works. I think you're supposed to like press really hard and it indents into the paper, but I don't really understand how that's really doing anything. So I don't get it. Hey Derek, welcome in. So you can take it from there and download it and then figure out how you want to do it. Some people do drafting film too, where it's like the pictures underneath and they print it right on a piece of paper underneath and then like trace it over top of their drafting film. I don't get it. I've never used drafting film and it sounds way too complicated, but whatever. Okay, so there is a reflection in the pupil right near the bottom. So I'm just going to ignore that bottom part and come in after I've laid something down to make it lighter. And then on this side, the pupil is the same way. Well, it's kind of at the bottom corners. I wish I could like blow up my own drawing so I could see what I'm doing better. You don't realize how blind you are until you start doing little things like this and you're like, oh my God, where the hell did my eyesight go? Okay. So now I'm going to come in the colors I chose. English helps. Chromium green opaque, green gold, and earth green yellowish. So I'm going to try to avoid getting too much along the lines because it'll make it look like crap when I go to put the black in. So there is a little bit, actually I should put that in there. Right here, there is a little line of gray that goes in between the eyeball and the socket. Is there one on the side? Very faintly, there's like a, I don't even know what that is. Looks like a dark gray brown almost. So it seems silly, but that's the stuff that's going to make it kind of stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to come in, because it's pretty dark gray. Doesn't really matter, just anything. I'm going to use warm gray 4, just because that's the one I grabbed. And I'm just going to lightly, very lightly, fill in that line, because it will make the eye pop more, especially when there's not a lot of white in the eye. So, yeah. Okay, so we're going to come in first with the green gold, which is not the prettiest color in my opinion, but it's in there, so we're going to do it. And I'm going to do it really, really lightly, because that'll help me be able to put other colors over top of it and mix it, because if I don't, I'm not going to like it. So, okay. So there is a catch light coming down into the eye. I might actually get rid of that now while I'm thinking about it. So I'm just grabbing my eraser. And I'm just going to erase right around. Would have made more sense to actually sharpen this thing beforehand, but whatever. Wonder if I have one in here that's not gonna erase half my picture when I do it. What did I do? There we go. Okay, so just along the bottom and then up the side on the eye on the right, I don't know what you guys are seeing, but the eye I'm working on right now has white right through it. So we're just gonna lighten it up because it's not a complete white, it's kind of like a off white. And then I'm gonna do the same thing along this side, but bring it down farther. And this is another reason going lighter with your pencils is nice. If you want to come in and erase it, you can do that. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. So I'm going to come in next with earth green yellowish, and I'm going to avoid what I just erased there and just sort of leave it blank now. And then come in along the sides. Because if you look, it's hard for you guys to see with the glare. Let's see. Let's see what I can do for you. If you bring this in, you can see where the different colors of the eye is along here. So it's almost like a yellow color or a cream there. And then there's dark in amongst it. So that's going to be what we try to capture. So here, there's still a lot of white in this area, but I'm going to go over it lightly first with the green and then start building up some of the darker colors in it. So this is earth green yellowish, and I'm just going where it's sort of the most impacted green, which is more just along the sides. And then across the top, it is going to be a bit darker because it's going to be shaded by the fact that it has an eyelid. Yeah. And then I'm going to come in with cream, which is just like a light yellow. I don't know what the hell I did with that. Oh, it's over there. Okay. And I'm going to still avoid those lights, but I'm going to bring in, just to brighten up this area of the lighter green. And then again, just along the edges here. And then I'm going to bring this down just below where the catch light is. And then roll over to this side of the eye. So this side right here, the green seems to be most right here. And I'm doing, to keep it like easy to blend so you don't get a lot of lines, you do like really light circular pencil marks instead of like jarring straight ones, and it helps you kind of mix them a little better. A little better. Some cases it's really good, other times it doesn't seem to do a whole lot. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this cream into kind of around this whole part of the eye, except for the edge where I put the green in, and then sort of in the middle here towards the end here. Okay, and then we got to come in with some darker colors. So I'm going to bring in chromium green opaque, which is just sort of like a medium to darker green, and it's like almost like a foresty looking green to an extent. And I'm not going to get it exactly like it is in the picture, but I'm going to do the same thing where I do the light pencil strokes. And there are marks coming up from the eye. There's a fruit fly. And I'm just doing little tiny pencil strokes, building up on the pressure, so that way I can kind of gauge how dark I want it to come out. And then on this side, because there is the cream, it's sort of spotty in different areas because we want to keep that cream in there. I'm actually going to come across the top here very lightly, again building pressure until I get at the darkness I want. Okay, and then on the same thing here, just along the top coming down, it's darker. It kind of comes down like this. And it may seem silly when it's so like little of like an area to be making it this detailed, but it does make it really stand out. I apologize, my mount is attached to the desk and I move like even a little bit and it's shaking the whole shebang. So I might have to move it somewhere nearby and then have it kind of come forward. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come in with the ivory. And I'm going to do very, very, very light circular pencil strokes over all of the eye except for the pupil. And this is going to give it like a glassy effect to it because it's going to blend those colors together. And it'll give a light color to the catch light, like to the reflection, because that's going to be there. And it's not perfectly white in this instance. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some more of the green gold again. This is like, it's a really weird color, but yeah. It's got kind of like a brown color to it, but it works. It's almost got like little lines coming right out of the pupil with it, and then right around there. And then I'm gonna come back in again with the greenish yellow and just brighten up those areas again. And we still have, you know, it looks like he's looking up, but we actually don't have the whole pupil drawn in yet. So we're still kind of working around that area. And then I'm gonna come back in again with the darkest green. That's sepia. Okay. And this is chromium green opaque. And I'm just darkening up just where the darkest areas are because we don't want to miss that. They kind of got washed out with the ivory, which is fine. We're just gonna build them up a bit more. And since putting the ivory down, it'll allow for the buildup of color to be just that much more rich when you lay it down a second time. So you sort of put it down the first time as a base, color an under layer, and then you build her up. Okay, so now I'm going to get the black and I'm going to come right into the pupil and bring it right down. Drives me nuts that we can't listen to music on this thing. Okay, and then I'm gonna bring that warm gray 4 that I had before, if I can actually see. And then we're just going to go into that lightest part of the pupil along the bottom. So we want it to be seen that it's there, but still be, what do you call it? Still be fainter than the rest of it. And then same thing here. Because we want the pupil to be quite a bit darker than the rest of the dark green in the eye, but we still want that green dark too, so. And then I'm just gonna come in with the gray and just do along the bottom here. So this one is a little bit different because of where the reflection is. It's going to kind of get cut off a bit. All right. And then now I'm gonna take the black and go where I went around with the dark sepia and the dark indigo, and I'm just going to fill that in, minding that area that I put in the gray right beside the inside part of the eye. I hope if I'm actually looking at the picture, not just going off the cuff here. So I'm just going back and forth lightly and building the black up. Because like I said, if you do make a mistake, which is going to happen, then you can easily erase it still. And then it's not going to make the paper look all grainy and gross. Okay. And there is the deep, deep eyeliner look here that I'm getting along the bottom. I'm just sort of thickening it up. Because even if you were to take my picture and trace it exactly, you're not going to get it the same. And my sketch is purely just freehand, so I definitely know I don't have it properly. So you want to pay more attention to the reference photo when you're doing it. And then that way you're not going to make it look all weird. Because if you purely just follow the sketch, it's going to be weird. Because I'm changing what I'm doing constantly as I'm doing it. So thickening it up, omitting things if I think it's not going to make sense. That doesn't happen very often. Usually you want to just trust it and draw it anyways, even if it looks weird. But sometimes I'll do it just because I don't want to draw that part, whatever it is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let me pull this guy back for a sec. I'm going to start at the top here with the ears. I'm going to leave this alone now for the moment. I'm going to put this crap away somewhere. Okay. What is that? Probably won't need it. Okay. So I'm going to start here, and where the ears wisp out, especially if you have colored paper, which I don't. You guys can't see what I'm talking about. Right here, their ears wisp out quite a bit, and their ears tend to, instead of being like straightforward or directly like sort of on an angle like a regular house cat's are, they tend to be turned very much to the side, so they look really thin, but that means that the ear hair tends to come out a lot, and you tend to see more of that than you do the actual inside part of the ear. So you need something you can indent with it. Forks weirdly work really good, or like a butter knife if you have it, the back of a butter knife. You can also get, like I used to do my fingernails all the time with all these stupid patterns when I was younger, so I have this indenting tool thing, I'll show you, that they use for like putting spots on your nails, but it actually works pretty good for this. So I don't know, honestly, I don't remember. I've had it like 20 or more years. It's not there, hold on. So I'm not sure. I'm sure you could probably find it on Amazon. I doubt it's very much money. And it looks like this. Let's see if I can get this on camera. It's got like a little circle on the end of it, and you get them in all different sizes. But because I was using it on my fingernails at the time, it was just a little light one. Or you can get sculpting stuff. Probably get these at the dollar store. I think that's where I got them a few years ago. What did I do with them? I had them out too. I'll show you guys. Oh, this would work. They're like these little wooden marks. You want anything that creates like an indent, basically, is the idea. But these are used a lot with hair on animals. Some people use them for the whiskers too. I don't, because I feel like they're a little too thick, but they are softer. So I'm going to use it for the ears and then use this for the whiskers. And you don't have to do it all if you don't want. It's just that depending on the paper, certain really expensive papers, which this is not, you can just take it out, like put the white right over top of all the other colors, and that won't happen with this paper. It's just not going to happen with this. As nice as that would be, that's not how most people are able to do it. Or you can try to leave that area blank as you're drawing. Again, that's really difficult, and you're constantly having to, like, as you're trying to focus on one area of the face, having to worry about where that hair is going to line up and making sure it's thin or thick enough or what have you. So you can do whatever you feel most comfortable with, but I would suggest, if you're just at home with regular stuff, get a butter knife or a fork and just go in the direction of the fur. Just blow it up, the picture and look the direction that the fur is going in. And this one you can't, it's really freaking blurry. But I think it's because it's being hit by the sun, but that's all right. I'll work with it. These things are like ready to die because they're so old. But anyways, okay. So all I'm gonna do is start right here. There's like an area of skin you can see that comes up in the ear. And what I'm going to try to do is start there as sort of like my starting mark. And I'm just going to whip it out like that in that direction. And I'm gonna have a little bit of pressure, but you really don't need much. The problem is that in this instance, there's a lot of freaking hair. So you're better off to just slowly take your time, let it wisp naturally like hair does. I don't know how else to say it, but wisp. I don't know what other word you want to call it. Just go slowly and make sure you get tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of them. But you don't want to just like scrape it. Otherwise it's going to look like you just scraped it all over the page, and it's already difficult to work with these when you can't really see what you're doing until after you start bringing color in. And by then, the damage is done. So you better hope you did a decent job. Okay, so in here, it comes down just a little bit further, and I'm going to bring that hair out just slightly. Okay, now they usually have hair right on the tips of their ears. Problem is, oh good, this photo does have it. I was going to say I chopped off the top of the ear. This one doesn't actually seem to have too many wisps coming off the top, because the wisp is right here, this whole area. The ear only goes to about here, and then from here up, it's that wisp that kind of, it's like that extra hair that stands straight up. Okay, so we're gonna work on this side, and it's pretty flat till about here. And we're just gonna do the same thing where you just sort of wisp it out, but the hair is a lot shorter. Just gonna come in and erase that line. Cheap ass eraser. Okay. Anyways. Just bringing it out and attempting to make it look the same in the picture when I can't see it, so. And then this kind of comes down, kind of starts going up on an angle like this, and you want to make sure if that's what it's doing, that that's what you're doing as well. So that way it looks realistic. You want, like, you don't have to have the expectation or the pressure of trying to make it, you know, exactly the same, because it's never going to be exact. But if that's what you're aiming for, then it's going to come out really realistic and good. Okay. And then we've got the whiskers that come up into the ears, so that are starting at the top of the head. So I'm going to bring them in now too. I was going to wait, but I figure it makes more sense. Now this one, same idea. This one's going to leave a bigger indent, which is why I want to use it for the whiskers, because then it's going to make more of a, like more of an actual indent. And I'm just going to go up and wisp it out. Just sort of go like that and let it go. So you can see that it kind of holds on to the paper a bit more. A lot of people don't like using this tool because it does create a really defined mark, and if you screw it up, you know, you screwed it up. But it's what it is. I'm also the type where I'm like, well, I don't want it to look only half-ass by doing it with something that's not going to leave the mark, so I'm just going to make the mark. Okay. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Okay. This is cool. I'm getting messages about cool synchronicities. Okay, so I'm just wisping out like this. And then just sort of watching where it is. They kind of go over each other here. They're a lot longer coming off of the muzzle or mouth, or I don't know what you call this. The little lips. And then there's a couple that even come off the front. And then we're going to come off the side here again. Like I said, if you have one of those expensive papers like pastel matte, I know you don't need to do this because you can go right over it with a white pencil, which I would love to try, but that's not going to happen any day soon. It's a little pricey for my liking, but it's a cool concept. I like the idea of it. Okay, I'm just looking to see. We might have to put some along the side here where the light blares or glares in, but otherwise, for now, we're going to leave it. Okay. So now we're going to start back up at the top of the ears. Almost looks like a violet-y color in there, which I could put more down violet, but then it's going to be more brown than gray, and I don't want that either. Let me look. I could do blue violet or Delft blue. I think I'm going to do blue violet. Okay. Let me see. I am just looking for a color I want to try. And my cat is now talking to me. Hello. What are you doing? You can stay over there. Thank you. Give me 1 sec. I gotta find the dang blue or the purple I'm looking for. Blue violet. Perfect. Okay. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to start off on this ear here, and I'm actually going to come in with that dark sepia again, and it's just sort of like a really dark gray, almost brown color, and I'm just going to come in lightly and sort of map it in, because this is going to be the little tuft. So, like tuft that's above the ear. So the interesting thing, this is totally blurry in the photo. So it looks like it's almost detached, but it's not. The idea of what you want to do when you have an actual fur area like this right below here, I'll show you. Do the same thing like we did with the indenting tool, where you just lay your pencil down lightly and just let it go in the direction you want. And if you need specific lines, this may not be a good option, but it's great for like little tufts of hair like that. And then it comes down here, and this is where it's completely blurred, but we're going to go in the direction of which most furs go in. So that's the idea. You want to do light pressure and just back and forth in the direction that the fur is in, and just build it up, because you're going to put more layers over top of it, and you're going to blend other colors into it before you're done. And like I said, you don't want to you have what's considered like the ply of the paper or the tooth of the paper, and the not as greater quality paper, that tooth of the paper, the ply of it, is going to fill up with color quicker, which is then not going to let you put any more color over top of it. So the harder you press, the more you're going to make it impossible to fill that up. Okay, so then next what I'm going to do is come in with the black. Is that black? Yes, okay. And I'm just going to do the same thing, just lightly over top of the dark sepia. And then we're going to go right up into that tuft. But before we go into the tuft area, I don't know what you want to call that, the little stray hairs, I'm going to come in with Like it's a blue, violet. I don't really know. Just like a dark purpley color, because there are colors coming off of the leaves and stuff in the background, and the light hitting the fur, that's going to give it sort of a almost like a purpley sheen to it. So that's why we kind of laid a couple darker colors down first, and now we're going to light pressure do the same thing, and we're going to come right up about halfway up that little tuft of hair with that purple color too, and just sort of mix it in. So you're not going to see it obviously, like say where you guys are at in your angle, but when you're doing the picture, it will make it kind of stand out and make the black and the grays more richer. Okay, and then we're coming back up with the black just lightly over top, and see it naturally just fills in where it seems a little too light of color, it naturally fills in. And then we're just gonna bring out this little tuft that he has on the top of his ear, just like that. Or it could be a she, I don't know what it is. And then again, we're just going to kind of do those little wispy hairs here where the beginning of the ear hair starts. Now, I don't know if you guys can see on this. No, you're not gonna be able to see it yet. I mean, I'm gonna come back in with the dark sepia or just a dark gray if you have it. And I'm just bringing in this little area here of the ear that kind of comes down. And I'm watching to see the direction where the fur is going, because that's going to make it look more rounder. There is like a line of yellow right here, and I'm going to bring that in. I'm actually going to just use, I have a light yellow ochre. So just like a pale yellow or a darker yellow. And it's literally just a tiny, tiny, tiny little line. And then it just sort of comes up a little bit like this. You can just do little tiny tufts. And like I said, it may seem counterintuitive doing this. You don't want to get that in the black or else it can look like crap. Or into the sepia. But it may seem counterintuitive, but it does make the ear pop. It makes all the difference when you're doing it. Now, a lot of the hairs here are almost white, okay? So we're just gonna do the odd hair along the bottom here, just doing that sweeping kind of motion from where you start at the root of where the fur would come out, and just let it sort of go out on its own there a little bit. And it gets darker here and becomes more of the regular fur again. So we're just gonna lightly put that in for now, so we can see what we're working with. And then we're gonna come in with some lighter grays. There's also one right about here. I'm just gonna draw it in. One here, one here. And don't worry about it being exactly as on the paper. You just want it to be as the same idea of. So just try your best, and that's what's gonna make it look pretty good. Okay, so there's like a weird gray part. I think it's where the light is hitting the other side of the ear. We just can't really see it. And then I'm gonna come in with a light gray. And, just trying to think. Actually, I'm gonna come in with like a medium gray. I'm gonna use warm gray 4 again. And just go lightly, because it starts off like a medium gray, sorry, right about here, about halfway up, and then the light hits the rest of it and almost bleaches it right out. So what I'm gonna do is do this color in just with light pressure with the warm gray 4, and then come in with an even lighter gray for the rest of that hair, so that there's something there. Okay. So this is called Cold Gray 2, just a light gray. And then I'm just going to come off of these hairs here and just wisp them out just like we did there. You guys may not be able to actually see it, but it is there. Okay, and it comes just around this guy here, and then it blurs out entirely again. So I'm just gonna kind of bring it out like that. Okay, and then we're gonna switch over here and do the same thing. We're gonna get the dark sepia, and then you can get like a piece of paper or something. This comes with my sketchbook. It's just like a piece of almost like rubbery plastic, it feels like. You just plop it down on the paper and put your hand on it, and then that way you don't smudge it. And you will smudge it, and I'll still smudge it even though I'm doing this, because I notice I'm notorious for this. Okay, so we got the little tuft of hair here, but at this moment it comes right down into the ear, and this part of the ear is turned completely to the side. So we're looking more at the underside of the ear, or I guess the back of the ear, than we are inside of it with this one. So we're just lightly filling it in with the dark sepia, or if you have like a dark gray or kind of like a ashy brown color, just fill that in. Again, you have your sketch there, but pay more attention to the reference photos you work on more so than anything else, because I just never keep them the same. And I wouldn't trust my sketches, since they are freehand, for being perfect, because I can guarantee you I'm changing them nonstop as I'm going along. But they're great as like guide marks for where you're going to be placing the lines permanently. Okay, so then we're going to come back in with that purple with violet. It's a lot more richer on this side, so I'm going to bring it right in over the sepia instead of laying black down first. And I'm going to bring it in about this mark here up. So right where the ear starts to curve upwards, that's when I'm going to bring in the blue violet. So this is almost like a really dark purple, or like it's like a purpley blue color. Even a dark blue would work as well, because it's just the way the light's hitting the fur. A lot of times when it's like black fur, it'll have a sheen of browns or reds or purples, blues. Just depends on the coolness of the color or the warmth. Okay. I'm just doing it lightly and building up the color, and then we'll come in with the black right over top of the whole shebang and bring it up. Again, even though we're filling in the tooth of the paper and making it nice and rich, at the same time, we still want to go in the direction of the fur, because it will be still expressed. See there, I'm going right over top of the ear. What I just drew. I'm not paying attention. Okay. So just light pressure, slowly building it up, and just tiny marks. Like, you don't want to make them big, long, swooping lines, because if you do, that's going to make the fur look longer. So you want it to match. And that may be annoying, but that's par for the course. You got to draw out the length of the fur. Okay, I'm just moving it up. You're going to bring it right into that blue violet color. One nice thing about this, when you're not doing it on a platform that requires you to not have music, but you can have like music going, or you're listening to a podcast or something, or an Audible book, you can do that too while you're working away at it. It's kind of nice. Now I'm wondering, with the playback on this, I noticed my YouTube videos, when I'm not talking, the mic gets muted out, and I'm wondering if that's going to happen on this app. And if it does, I'll assume that's my phone, not the app, or like the application that I'm using. But I also have a fan going in the background, which I did not have when that noise was going on. So I feel like the fan was kind of keeping the noise canceling from overtaking my voice. All right, so we're almost done with black. Just working through slowly. And if you're watching this later and doing it, you can always pause it, move ahead, whatever you got to do. Work at your own pace. Don't rush yourself. Just because it's the way I do it, you know. Okay, so now we've got almost like a blonde there coming at the bottom, but we're going to start with that, what was that color? The yellow ochre that I had before. What did I do with you? Oh, right there. Okay, so any light brown, this is going to be very faint. It comes in right about here and just swoops out. So you're just watching the direction of which it swoops and then going in that generalized direction. And then it comes out to about here, but I'm just going to get rid of those sketch marks I made. Now, I personally would rather do my sketches instead of in graphite when I'm going to erase them. My regular sketches are in graphite, but when I'm sketching something like this where I'm going to be erasing lines, I tend to do it just in a light gray color. And then that way it's easier to erase, but you can still faintly see it. So, I don't know, it's an idea for it. Because I noticed if I use graphite and then I try to erase it, a lot of times it indents the paper like those indenting tools did. And when that happens, you're not going to be able to lay color down over top of it. That's the whole point of indenting it, so that it keeps those marks out. Okay, so I'm going to grab the dark sepia again, if I can find it. I keep picking up the black. It's the warm gray. What did I do with the sepia? Oh, for God's sakes. Sad thing is, oh, it's right there. I was going to say it's probably sitting right in front of my face. Okay, so same idea. You want to avoid bringing black into those yellow areas. Even the grays can sometimes be a bad idea because you can give it like a green tinge to it and it looks like crap. It doesn't look right. It looks like a really ugly brown color. So I'm just coming along the bottom there very faintly with the dark sepia so I don't have to do it with the black afterwards. And even this, I'm being very careful bringing it near because I think it's going to make it look like crap if I get it too much into there. But unfortunately, in this little part of the ear, it is right over top of it. So we're coming over it with the dark sepia instead of the black. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in that medium gray, the warm gray, 4 again. And just sort of work it out this way. Just doing light pressure at first, and you can always build it back up and make it darker, but I want to end it with really light gray again coming off of it so it expresses where the sun's hitting it, like hitting the little hairs. Okay, and then we're just going to bring this lightly swooping over top of that yellow color. And then we're going to grab the light gray and do the same thing as before. Just come right off of the medium gray or the dark sepia and just bring it out a little bit. And then we're going to bring it off the end of the yellow, trying not to touch it too much. This is pretty faint, but it is there, so. Okay. Bring this down. Just like that. Okay. So then I think what I'm going to do next is, I might even do, it's going to work on the top of the head. I think what I'm going to do is bring in the black of on the markings on the head, but I'm going to come in first with that really light gray. This is a cool gray too. And I'm going to erase my lines again here. And then I'm just going to watch the direction of the fur. Slightly bring it in, and you're not going to see it very well at first from your angle, but there are almost silver-like pieces of fur, and we want to capture that. So we're bringing in the first layer all over the top of the head. That's going to just be sort of like the base, but watch where the fur direction changes, because this is when it's going to start making all the difference. And again, you want to do tiny pencil marks and just lightly, because we're going to do quite a bit of layers over top of this. We're just going lightly over top right now in the direction of the fur. Really tiny pencil strokes, so it doesn't look like they have really long hair here. We don't want that. Okay, so we're just working our way down. You're gonna notice when we get around the ears and like here the forehead, it starts to turn naturally. It will move in a different direction, because by the time we get to around the eyes, it needs to be going in this direction. So that's where it's nice to blow up the picture. I have the original, and then I cropped it, like a copy of it, and literally just cropped it at the face so I could see the direction where the fur is. So you can see the lines I put in for the markings, and that's fine that they're not covered because they're going to be black. But for now, we're just coming in first with this lightest gray. And we're not going to do the whole thing in this video, obviously. There's a lot. So I'm just going to do to the top of the nose here, and then I'm going to stop. Because I want to focus more on the nose and the hair around the mouth and stuff. It's really weird, and I want to put some more effort to it, and I'm going to have some lunch and stuff before I start all that. Okay, again, just being really careful to do short pencil strokes in the direction of the fur, just lightly with whatever lightest gray you have. And this gets pretty dark in here, but I'm still going to bring it in just so that way it's in there. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab that black and come in over those, over the markings on the face, and I put them in very, very roughly, so I'm going to pay more attention to the reference photo, and I'm doing the same thing. It's very light pressure because certain areas, they're not very distinct, so I don't want to make them very distinct, and you can go over them a few times if you want to, make areas of it darker, but you can almost get like a gray color out of it by just starting it out lightly. And again, you just want to go in the direction of the fur, making even tinier pencil markings. Okay, we got some faint ones right here in the center, which you can even omit if you want, because it's barely even noticeable, but I'm being weird about it. Okay, and then I'm going in and creating a darker line here. Just paying attention constantly where the fur is going. And then right here. And then just building up the color in the areas that are darker. There's one right here. There's going to be a lot of dark gray going into these areas and covering the light gray we put in. But this allowed us to get sort of a base color down for where those really nice, light, almost white, gray, silver colors are. And then, yeah, and then we can kind of build it up with darker grays later, but this way we have those colors in, and they can easily stand out at any time where we want them to, and then we can just patch in the darker areas. Okay, so this is going to come down like this, and the lines aren't going to be, like the markings aren't going to be exactly, and that's okay too. You don't have to worry if it's not going to be 100% exactly the same. You are aiming for it to be, but it's not going to happen. You may as well just do it in a way that fits for what you're creating. But you are looking to make those same kind of markings. Okay. Some people add markings. I don't tend to really do that, but I'll sometimes have to omit them if I've made my initial ones too thick. But this one so far is all right. This one's weird. It kind of comes around like this. I still have to pay attention to the direction of the fur. Even though it's going like this, the fur is always going in this direction. So I just pay attention to that. Looks almost brownish. I don't like that. And there's a little marking here. And a little line up there. Then a little line right here. Okay, and then right here we've got, I'm actually gonna go right here to the eye so I can kind of see better. So right here, this kind of comes in front of the pupil. It's very faint, and then it comes out kind of like this, and then goes into darker grays. So what I'm going to do is just block it off, and then I can fill it in later with the darker gray. And then there's a little faint area here, like that. Okay. And then right off of this one, just above, we're leaving a bit of a gap because there's a white area there. We're doing almost like a pitchfork kind of shape, and this is common on cats' faces. They have like the M markings or whatever, and then it comes out this way, almost into like a little, I don't know what you call this, into a weird shape is what it is. Okay, just like that. And again, don't beat yourself up if you're not getting it exactly the same on the paper. It takes a while to get used to doing it. Okay, and then we're gonna bring down a line right in the center, and it's going to come up. And let's see, where does it go from here? Okay, and then it stays almost completely filled in, but I'm still going to create the distinct lines in here. Just like that. I'm just gonna build these up a little darker on the sides. Okay, and then now we have this little weird S-shaped guy that kind of comes up into the hair. Same idea, watching the direction of the fur. And then sort of seeing where it stops on the page. Like what part of the ear. So I usually start like, I see where it is above the eye, and then I match it to where it's gonna stop by the ear, so in this instance. And then I create a bunch of marks I didn't intend to make. Okay, and then there's another spot here. It's a little bit thicker. And it's going to come down right through that white, because this is where the dark gray starts. It's going to kind of come like this and down. And it goes into what is that hair on the, or fur on the side of the eye or corner of the eye. Okay, and then I'm going to bring this up. Just like this. And you can start to see, now that we're using darker colors, you can see where that indent tool was made for the fur, which is kind of cool. Seeing the fruits of your labor come out a little bit. Okay. And then this guy is going to come right down, but for now, we're going to leave him there. And then there is a little bit of a black line here. And we're not making just direct lines, we're trying to make little tiny fur strokes as we do that. Okay. And then of course all this is going to be colored in with darker grays as we go along, but this way we got it started. And then we'll just bring this guy towards the direction he's going to go in, like that. Okay. So I am going to hop off here for a break, and then we'll come back and work more on the face.